And welcome to the EMS Underground, where everything's being a little slow to take off and do everything. I am Charles McFall, the media specialist here at Georgia Institute of EMS, and I'm here to share with you whatever I can today to let you know, what's going on and those kind of things. Answer your questions. So today we do have a question, but before I get to that, you know how this goes. We got to get everything set up because this is Facebook Live. If you never want to miss one of these discussions, and it is a discussion, you get to type in your thoughts, your comments, your questions. I'll respond back to them, and it's going to be really, really cool and fun. So why is this being so slow? Dang it, Facebook, get your stuff together. Oh, here we go. So I just want to make sure I get the chat room ready to go and I can see everything and all that jazz. So hit those like buttons, hit those heart buttons, and go ahead and send those questions in. Start getting that ready to go for sure. So I got everything ready here. Hello, Nicole Spencer. Thank you for watching. The question of the day is, what is the best outreach for EMS? Parades, school days, festivals, fairs, those kind of things. You know what? That's a tough one. That is a tough one because I've done all of those. I don't think a parade does anything for anybody, and I'd love to hear differently. I'd love to hear why a parade makes you feel like a part of the community. I'd love to hear from anybody, from bystanders, from people who've been in parades. I just think they're stupid, to be honest. I think they're a pointless waste of time. Never really got into them as a kid. And as part of EMS, I had to be a part of a couple of parades. Where I can't even remember the little city it wasn't even a city, a little town, little country town that it was. And it was a bunch of tractors, right? A few floats, which really half-assed. They were just trailers with some people sitting on hay bales and our truck, and we have to go through town with the lights going, and it takes all of a minute and a half. I mean, we sat there and waited in line for like an hour. We had to get there set up and all that jazz. We're out of commission for that time, and we finally go through the parade, and it takes maybe a minute and a half to get through the whole of everybody. So everybody turns around and does it again, basically. It's like, what's the point of that? I don't know. I think health fair days are okay. I know the local hospital, when I was on the EMS, many, many times did a health fair where different doctors would come out, chiropractic specialists, citizens could come out and get their blood pressure and blood sugar checked, pre-screens for all kind of different health issues, those kind of things. And it was never got a lot of questions about the ambulance. I mean, yeah, we needed to be there. And I'm a little stuffy today, by the way, if you can't hear it necessarily in my voice. It's rainy outside. The weather's up and down, hot and wet and whatever. And I'm in the basement, so it is what it is. Nicole, I mean, you're a volunteer firefighter. I'd love to hear what you had to say about health fair days or about parades. I just don't understand parades at all or being a part of them for any reason. Now, I've never been a part of a big city parade. I'll say that. I've never been a part of one that spans city blocks and this and that and the other. So, that notwithstanding, I don't understand it. I don't get it. But as far as health fair days, I think is important because it shows you're a part of that medical community, right? So we'd go to the hospital grounds. We'd have both ambulances would be out there for a while, and we'd hang out. And my buddy, because I guess our radios weren't keyed right, or so, I don't remember exactly why he did it, but he put a rubber band around the PA mic and put it on the radio so that if anything toned out, we'd really hear it so we could walk around. I don't know why we didn't have portable radios, but it was funny. It was a fun thing to do. Then on top of that, when you're on the hospital grounds and you're doing this health fair, you're being a part of it. we were never signed up to do like blood pressure checks or heart monitor anything or any of that. So really we're just there for show. But I do think that was important to be there for show and to say, hey, yeah, we're a part of the whole system that provides health care to you. But all this was little town stuff. I think the biggest impact, the biggest outreach, the two biggest outreaches we have actually centered around one thing, and that is the public schools. Number one, to be able to go in and do the speeches inside the school. We'd have, I don't remember exactly why we went in to do a speech, if it was career day or if it was health day or whatever, but we'd do a speech in the middle school and we'd do a speech in the high school. And sometimes, not so much with the high school, but definitely with the middle school and even elementary school, we would go there for most of the day, and different classes would come through and they'd tour the ambulance. So the teacher would bring their class out, and the kids would climb up in and sit around, and we'd show them the heart monitor because you can put it on your hands and your leg. And so we do it for ourselves. We'd say, okay, watch this. And you can actually monitor multiple hearts. Now, the more strings you add, the more diluted it gets. But if you put the leads on 1, 2, and 3, right? Put them on, you get your heart. And it can be literally on your hands and feet, and it's fine. But if you put a lead on your right hand, then put one on my left hand, and we hold hands, it'll actually pick up. I think either we did that with paddles or we did it with the leads. I can't remember. But you can pick up 2 hearts. And so the kids thought that was the greatest thing in the world, right? The kids get up there, and you're 5, 6-year-olds, and we'd have them hold hands and hold the ends of it, and it was really neat to see the different heartbeats. The more you add, like I said, the weaker the signal is, but it's still really cool. And they loved that. They loved asking questions. So, here we are demystifying the ambulance, because most people interact with an ambulance when there's an emergency. For them, mommy and daddy, or one of them's dead or hurting or bad things are happening, or for them personally as a child, injuries, bad things have happened. It's scary times. So doing the meetings, doing the health days at the school where they got to come through and talk to us, and we'd print out little strips for their heart, and we'd let them all hold, and we did it with the paddles, because it was easier. They'd hold one in one hand, one in the other, and then, we print off a strip, there's your heart. And it's so cool, right? They get to go home and show mom and dad their heart. They got to see it at school today. The older times, of course, I love speaking. And I love speaking in public and love taking questions. And so to go to the high schools and the middle schools and to be able to speak in front of the class for 5 to 10 minutes and do our thing, that I ate up, right? And then with the high school, I don't pull punches. They try to get you. Oh, what about, they say if I do this and this with drugs, or blah, blah. And I'd always shoot them straight. It's like, well, no, that's a lie. You can do this and that, but here's what it does to your body. So because I don't care who you are, when you're a church, you're a parent, you're a teacher, you're telling somebody something that's not true, you're wrong. You're just wrong. You need to hit them with the truth. Yeah, drugs are freaking awesome. Getting drunk, getting wasted can be fun, but here's what it does to you. Here's all the bad decisions. Here's the horribleness that can come from it. And let them understand the reality of things. Could it be something like, I heard if you smoked weed and then kissed a girl, your brain would get worms. I mean, I'm just making up something stupid. I can't think of what they said. But it'd be stupid. I'm like, no, that's stupid. And the teacher would be like, no, don't tell them it's stupid. Like, no, it's stupid. You're wrong, teacher. Don't tell them lies. They're freaking teenagers. They know. So, but then we'd say, here's what happens when you do all this stuff. And I love those things. So you're demystifying the ambulance, right? Taking the scary out of it, putting the professional into it, and you're connecting with kids, and giving them an idea of a career, or at least some truth of how to operate in the world. Now, Nicole responds back to me, we've never been a part of the health fair. We do take fire trucks to elementary schools and primary school. We dress out in the gear, and they ask us a ton of questions. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The health fairs, they're okay. I think they're kind of a waste of time, other than people actually getting to check their blood pressure if they don't already. People who don't go to doctors might come to a fair and get health checkups. Okay, I give you that. The point of the fire engine or the ambulance being there is just for show. It's to be the shiny, sexy, woo-woo part so they can come do the boring stuff, right, at the health fair. But at the schools answering the questions, letting the kids climb on the trucks, letting them see the gear, see your human being behind all of it. I think that's very important. Now, the second part that goes into that is the football games, the standbys. When we do especially the football games, there might have been other sports that had standbys. I don't really remember having to do baseball games all that much or basketball games, but definitely all the football games were there. A truck is there, and that's it. I mean, they're there for the whole game, period. They're taken out of service or another truck is sent. And a lot of times both trucks will be there to hang out. It's a big community event. The South is built around football, without a doubt. From high school on, even in elementary school, middle school, but from high school on for sure, it is built around football. The smaller the town, the bigger the deal it is to have the football games. So you need to be a part of that community, without a doubt, always. All the horse shows, there was, when I was in Conyers, you're right, Laura, when I was in Conyers, the horse park is here, the horse shows would have EMS standby, but even then, it really was. We parked the big taco truck out there, and one person would be there as our first responder. And if anything really bad happened, they would call a truck in to pick up and transport. Those kind of things. So and honestly, horse shows, I know it's close to the heart for Laura because she does the horse stuff, but horse shows are very niche. So they're not a huge part of most communities. In my experience I've gone through, while Conyers has a horse park, it is way out of town. Most people don't even think about it being out there. Most people, it's an afterthought. It was built for the Olympics, I know, and it's put way outside of the normal range of town so that people just don't think about it. And I actually went by the other day. So I play Pokemon Go. I do a show called Pokemon Go Podcast, and different nests are in places, and the horse park has a nest. And I went out there randomly going, I wonder if it's just open during the day, what's going on. Well, there was a horse show of some kind going out there, and there's might have been 15, 20 people. I mean, there wasn't a ton of people. And it was weird. And there was no EMS sitting out there for that one. And when I say weird, I am used to when there's a horse show of any kind that it's hundreds of people that come from all over the U.S., right? Or maybe the world, I don't know. And a bunch of the arenas are being used. But in this particular case, there's only one arena. It was unusual to me. So, but football is a thing that I know Laura's in Athens. I know Nicole's in Oglethorpe. And Oglethorpe high school football games are a big deal. Big deal. For Oglethorpe County. Athens, of course, has got UGA and all the different high schools. Lots of big deals there. Conyers, I'm in Conyers now, but I was in Monticello. And that was the thing. You always went to the football games. And that's the very heart of the community in the South. And there might be plenty of medics who hate doing that. And I got to tell you, let me talk to the medics and the EMTs now. This is why you do the school days. This is why you're happy to do the school days. Because honestly, I got started when I was 18 years old in EMS. And by 2021, I'm doing these days and these talks. Well, if I stick around long enough, that 6, 7, 8-year-old, even high schooler that I just talked to and has implanted this truth in them about here's how the world really works, here's how medicine works. I showed them a new way of seeing the world or a new possibility for their career. That person might become my partner. I mean, it's feasible that they easily, in 5 to 10 years, go to EMT school, and now I'm still in the field, and now they're my partner, those kind of things. So it's an impression that you make on the community. But a lot of times we feel isolated. I know I did. We felt so isolated as medics in the community. When I was at Jasper County at the lake, right, nobody comes by there to say hey or drop off cookies or any of that mess. The firefighters barely came by there once a month to do their meeting. So we're just secluded, right? And we were a very slow station. So most of the time we'd come in, check off the truck, wash it, make sure it's clean inside and out, had everything done. My partner and I, especially when it's Jeremy Hayes, we love this pattern. We would do all that. Then we'd get in the truck, go to town, say hi to the other truck, swap out, turn in any paperwork that might have been left over, swap out any drugs that might need to be swapped out, replace any gear that might be missing. And then how do we un-isolate? I know that's the hard part. That's what I'm talking about here is we would then go to the grocery store, maybe say hi to the clerk or something, get our food for the whole day, lunch and dinner, and go back to our station, and that's it. We'd be in the station the rest of the day if we didn't get a call. And honestly, that's kind of a good thing. You build your own little world. You have your own ways of coping with stuff. How do you un-isolate? I don't know exactly, other than the Friday night games was a great way to really be out in the community, shaking hands, smiling, showing that, yeah, we're a part of this. And the people who just stay in the truck, who just pull up to where the ambulance is supposed to park, and they don't do that, you're making a huge mistake. Because the community needs to see you in more ways than just being the critical responder. Because we're assholes when we're critical responders. Because that's how you control a scene. So picture this: public car accident downtown, center of your little town. In some places like Lexington, that's a block and a half. Okay, some places like Monticello, it's a little more spread out, a little bit more of a space. But you will be seen by the city people, the city folk, right? The community. And, of course, everybody hears about it. The newspaper comes out, takes pictures, whatever. So there's an accident, 2-car accident, MBA. And there's at least let's just say 2 patients, keep it simple. Well, I show up first truck in, and I've got to make sure the whole scene's taken care of. I've got to assess everything because the second truck's right behind me. I need to know if I need a helicopter. Firefighters are coming. I need to know what to tell them. So the bystander on the street knows Bob in the car is like, you need to help Bob. You need to help Bob. I ignore the crap out of them. So instantly ignoring somebody is going to piss them off because they feel like they're trying to help. They're staying on your way, but they're trying to help. They're panicking. And I'm ignoring. I don't even acknowledge them. That pisses them off. I'm an asshole. So I see Bob. Bob, you okay? Yeah, I've kind of hit the steering wheel. All right, Bob. And right then, here comes my partner. So, all right, partner, I need you to hold his C-spine. And he's airways breathing. He's conscious. He's alert. So I need you to keep checking on him. I got to go check on Sally over here. So I'm leaving that car. And instantly, they see me not even touch Bob. Maybe they don't even hear me speak to Bob. I'm not helping Bob. I'm walking away from Bob. But this is how medicine goes. This is how we're supposed to be. Right? We know what we're doing. They don't. So I go to Sally, blah, blah, blah. And now maybe I'm dictating things. Maybe Sally's best friend is on the side of the road. And this is basically, okay, to go to a real life scenario, without telling you all the details, I had a kid in the back of my truck, downtown Madison. And very, very public. The paper was out there almost as fast as we were. And this kid was critical, and the mom's beating on the back of the truck. She opens up the back door. I cussed her out. I said, shut the effing door now. And she tried to climb in, and I got the cops to haul her away. I'm an asshole. But you know what I'm doing? I'm controlling my scene safety, and I'm taking care of this kid's health. And a panicking, screaming mother will never help that. She'll make it worse. I had a tube that was very, very tentatively placed breathing for this kid. Had she bumped him, it could have come out. We don't know the extent of all the internal injuries and fractures. Had she, my baby, it fell on him, she could have killed him. But all the community sees in this scenario is I'm the asshole. So it is very, very, very important to go to these football games, to go to the community events, be smiling, be personal, talk to people, shake hands, tell stories. I'll be 100% honest with you. I hate good old boys. I don't give 2 craps about your farm. I don't care about, did you hear about Joe Bob down there the other day? I really don't care about any of it. If you want to call me a city slicker, I'm a city slicker. I don't care. I really don't. I don't know you. I don't know the history of your family in this community. I wasn't here 30 years ago. I don't even live here in most of my scenarios. I live in Athens. I live in Conyers. At one point I lived down on the lake in Jasper County and still commuted out. I don't live in Newton County, ever. I don't know if the Smiths are the hugest family and been there for 100 years. I don't care. I'm here to do a job. But with all that being said, I will still go out to the community events when I'm on the truck. I will show up. I'll smile. Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah. 10 years ago, that house burned down. Sure, I know what you're talking about. big smile. Whether I care or not, part of my job is helping us un-isolate, right? Helping us become a part of the community. So I personally wouldn't give you the time of day and don't really, I mean, no, I'm nice. Don't get me wrong, I would actually give you the time of day. It's like, hey, man, what time is it? I'll tell you. If you wave to me, I wave back. But to be honest, I have no interest in being your one outlet to the world for the day to express all your life worries. I don't care that somebody's calf that I never met, the person I never met, that their cow had calves. I don't care. I just don't. But I will play like I do because I'm a nice guy. And when I'm on the truck and I have the uniform on, I am a much different person. I am more than representing myself, right? So let's go to the chat here. Laura says, keeping calm, keeping out. Yeah. And people don't always understand that. And I told the story, I think I told it here before, about the heart attack person. He was having a heart attack. I had to talk him in to going to the hospital, and he wouldn't go to the local hospital. Well, the two kids who were, and they were kids, they were under 18, under 20 at least, freaking out, being stupid. Oh my God, being stupid. Just screaming, oh, land a helicopter. I'm not landing a helicopter in your yard. I can get them to the hospital before the helicopter even get here. Shut the F up. And they're being stupid. Well, I get there, and we pull into the ER, and out comes the kid. I mean, the kid comes. I mean, he came in screaming so fast into the ambulance parking, which you're not supposed to do ever in a personal car, period. Came screaming at that security, basically put their hands on their guns and started to come at him because he was obviously a threat. And sure enough, we're trying to pull his dad, who's having a heart attack. Now, we stabilized him, but he's having a heart attack. He needs a doctor, and he's sitting there trying to yell at me while I'm like, get out of my way so I can get your dad out of the effing ambulance. And security had to pull him away. Family doesn't care sometimes. They just want you to do what they want you to do. And you have to, it's hard, but you have to stay calm yourself. You have to do what you, I mean, I wouldn't talk to that guy for a long time. And any time, and he was big in the community. He was one of our first responders, which he should have known better. And he had people actually yelling at him, including his mom. His mom yelled at him. His chief ended up yelling at him. One of my associates, who's a paramedic with me, who lived in the county, his father lived in the county, he's one of the families in the county, yelled at him later. But every time he'd come around me, I mean, I would tense up, I'd be ready for a fight every single time, which made me do my job worse because instead of worrying about public safety and just in general public, or on a call worrying about my patient, I am now 90% watching him to make sure he's not going to try to punch me because he bowed up like he was going to try to punch me when I didn't fly his daddy to where he thought he should go. So now I'm worried about it, and that's a problem, but that's not what we're talking about. Laura says, screaming mothers, riding instructors have that too. The moms have much bigger reactions than the instructors do, and the kids react based on how those around them react. Yeah, absolutely, they do. I love my wife, and I'm glad that I met her. She was a clerk in the ER when I met her. She's been around medicine, and while she does have more of a mother response than I have a parent response when it comes to medicine and my kids, I love that she defers to me, and that she, if I say something, unfortunately, if I say something that worries her, now I am of the mindset of I voice concerns, right? My daughter, all of a sudden, my youngest daughter, all of a sudden, after she had her ears checked and they said they're fine, and she said it hurt when they did it. Shortly after that, all of a sudden, she's talking really loud about everything. And I don't know if she just hit a phase where she really just is excited about everything. But I notice, because I work with sound all the time. And now I don't always notice when I'm getting excited, and loud. But I do notice variations in sound around me. I do notice what is normal and what is not normal. And I mentioned something to my wife, and it freaked her out. She said, what? You're worried? Now you made me worried. Like, well, that's not the point. I need you to be a human being and think for a second. I'm just asking for, what do you think, basically? But for the most part, she doesn't panic. And, you got so many human things going on when it is a child, when it's the parent's fault or the guardian's fault, when there was one I didn't work directly. I came in secondary, and God, I need this program to go away. I'm trying to close things. I hate when stuff just pops up on my computer. Don't you hate that when you're doing stuff, and it can even be an EMS when you're doing things and all stuff just keeps popping up? It's like, just stop it. Oh crap! I have to take that later. I have to take that later. All right, sorry. It's a it's a casting call, but I will take it after I do this here. So, but yeah, so you're responding to a call. I mean, all these things are distractions, right? You're going priority to a call, and your spouse, your loved one, all of a sudden calls you, and your instinct is to answer the phone because whoever knows what might be happening. And you should never answer your phone when you're on a call. And the call starts when they dispatch it to you. Or I hate the ones where and multiple calls are going on. Mine ends up being what seemed like the least important to start with, but it became the most important because it came out as patient has a cough, and when you get there, the patient's got a heart attack, and somebody's doing CPR, or you need to do CPR, and all of a sudden, everybody else is talking about their calls on the radio, and you're like, I need to get through right now. Get out of my way. I need help. This is what we do. Things distract. Things pop up. Things happen. And it's how you juggle them is what makes you a professional. How you handle the screaming moms. I was starting to talk about, there was one where a grandfather or an uncle, somebody who wasn't the direct caregiver to the child, they were doing four-wheelers on the farm or whatever. And they'd done it before and it'd been fine. Well, something happened and the throttle stuck or whatever. They ran right into a fence, and it was a flexible fence. I forget what it was made of. It wasn't like a wooden post fence or anything, but it smacked him and he got torn up, but the kid went flying over the fence and into the yard. Well, because of the guilt factor, right? He was driving it. The throttle stuck. There was nothing you could really do other than possibly think very, very quickly. I don't know. I've never been in a situation. So from the outside, there might have been one or two Superman things you could do that made you the hero of the day by thinking really quickly, killing the engine, maybe putting it in neutral. But I mean, you're talking about split seconds. We don't know when you realize the throttle stuck. We don't. And trying to turn, I think he did try to turn at the last minute, which is what helped throw the kid. Physics are a thing, right? So, he's won't even let us touch him. Now, there's multiple providers, so somebody's already taking care of the kid, backboarding her, taking care of all that, and he won't even let us touch him. He's like, "Don't take her." It's like, we got her handled. You still need help. These are things you experience in the real world. These are things that pop up because of human nature. And that particular call, I do remember being in the back helping the other crew, and my partner was outside the truck because I was still in the EMT. He was the medic. So I got in the back of the truck to help the EMT medic team that was first on scene with that kid. Well, then mom shows up and she's mad. I mean, and the cops are there, everybody's there, firefighters, everybody's there. And she wants to go away, beating on the grandfather or the uncle, which is an irrational yet understandable reaction. It's your kid. It's bad. It's still a wrong reaction. But then she wanted to come in the truck, and she opened the doors for everybody else, and we said, no, you can't come. And she started to say something, and my other partner physically grabbed her, pulled her out, shut the truck, stood there. Because what she doesn't know is his full-time job was he's a police officer, and he didn't play. And he talked to her like a cop. He stood her down like a cop because instantly he went into protect and serve mode because that's what we needed. And the other officers there were backing him up. The ones who were uniformed as officers with, all the local doodads on them. Because there is nothing you can do to help as a parent. I am a trained paramedic. I am out of practice, but I'm a trained paramedic. And if I came up on a scene after finding out my kid was hurt or my wife was hurt, the last thing I'm ever going to try to do is get in the back of the truck. Because I know my judgment is shot at that point. There's no way to be calm at all. It's my kid or it's my wife. It's not going to happen. I want to step back and let the professionals handle it. True story. I was in Atlanta. I was actually in Swanee, which is way north of Atlanta. And it took, at the time from my house, it took an hour and a half to get there. And something happened with, I think it was my oldest son. My wife had been playing with him on the bed, first parent syndrome, whatever. He had fallen off for a split second. He cried, and then he wasn't crying, and it freaked her out. Oh my God, he's got a head injury. I mean, she did the parent reaction thing that you do. And she calls me. I'm like, I'm an hour and a half away. You have to call 911. But I'm like, okay, I can't get through to you. I can't trust your judgment. You have to call 911. So she did. And in the process, I called the station because I worked for that EMS. I worked there locally. And so I called the station and talked to my buddy and said, hey, you're about to go to my house. I think my wife's probably overreacting, but here's the situation. They're going to tone it out as worst case possible. He fell off the bed. He's unresponsive. The reality is I don't know. He as far as I can tell, he's breathing. His eyes are open. And my wife's panicking. So if you would just call me once you get there after you checked him out, do your thing. I will never step in your way or tell you what to do. Do your thing. I trust you, is what I was telling him. And of course, I got in my car and I started driving home. And actually, that's actually where I learned speeding means nothing, because the instinct in me was, all right, let me get home as fast as I can. I mean, I'm gunning it, taking off very fast, stopping short, taking off, and I didn't even have GPS at the time. I just knew how to get home. And I realized it doesn't matter how fast I go right now, because my body's telling me, get there, get there, get there, get there. It doesn't matter how fast I'm going right now. It's still going to take an hour. There's literally no way to shave off an hour of time in a 60-mile run, And that's where I calmed down. I'm like, I don't know why, but that was that moment in life that just clicked permanently of, I'll get there when I get there. And if I drive safe and calmly and do whatever I can, even on the ambulance, if I drive safe and calmly, get there when I get there, that's what matters. Because getting there 1 minute earlier doesn't change anything. And in most cases, when you're 911 calls, you're not even going to shave a minute off your response time by speeding, by being reckless, by going crazy. You're just not. So, of course, they got there, and he was fine, and they checked him out, and they calmed her down. And that's what she needed was, somebody to help her out and calm down. And so, they called me and told me all this, and I said, well, if you're good, we can sign a refusal. But since I'm not there, I need you as the medic to make that decision for us, and I'll back you up. And he said, yeah, no, you're fine. He's fine, blah, blah. And they signed a refusal. And of course, I came home, and my wife was fine, and everything's good. So having children and having situations with my children did actually help me calm down and be nicer to parents who overreact and to family members, because it's a thing. I mean, it just is a thing. It just happens. And Laura, to your point about the horse stuff, I get that. I mean, I get that totally. And unfortunately, all kids for the most part are wired to react to however their parent reacts. I've seen it happen when I kept nursery and watched children professionally. I was a caretaker for a while, and the kid would be like, an hour earlier, they would have fallen. They started to, I'm like, no, you're cool, man. It's fine. And I'm just like, look, you just bumped your knee. You're all good. And they would suck. Okay. And they would suck it up and go along. An hour later, mom comes to pick him up, and they're like, I bumped my knee. Oh my God, you bumped it. And they would break down crying. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This happened an hour ago. Why the hell did you just panic your kid? It is frustrating. Oh, my goodness. So what other questions do you have? Whatever else do you have going on? Okay, let's talk about staying calm. Laura says, my insides is going crazy, but I have to put the calm on so everybody can be as calm as I can. And that can be the truth. Absolutely. The only time I know for a fact I did that, was this kid I've talked about a couple times just was climbing a rock wall, spontaneously died, and just stopped climbing, lowered him down, blah blah, and everything went textbook. I mean, the fire truck was there within 2 minutes of the call. The AED advised shock twice. It did it. Everything. Everything went textbook, and I get there, and they're informing me what's going on. I mean, they're informing us on the radio as we're coming in, and we get there, and I get them tubed just like that. We get the IV just like that. I mean, everything's running textbook, and this kid is not responding to anything that we're doing, nothing. And at some point, and I always sat in the captain's seat. The way an ambulance is set up, if you're looking at me, okay, my hand is the front of the ambulance, so the truck's facing towards me, but there's a seat that faces backwards. We call that the captain's seat. And there's an AED usually, or a defibrillator and everything usually right there, typically in most trucks, and you can reach all the important stuff. Then there's a bench that goes along the wall towards the back of the truck, and of course the stretcher sits here. But it lets you sit by the head of the patient so that you can manage the airway directly, and you've got space for 2 or 3 adults on the bench to hand stuff, to do compressions. And actually, a lot of trucks have a CPR seat on the other side of the stretcher for a person to sit there and do CPR. And we had the drug box out, and I love making a mess when it comes to these kind of things. I don't know why I was always did. Maybe it was the TV flare in me, but my drug boxes would just get thrown down. Now we told nobody never throw anything away, because we go back and count. Here's empty drug boxes. Here's empty vials. Whatever. But there's a door well there, and that's where all the stuff went. And so, I mean, you got ripped plastic bags sitting around. You've got trash everywhere, right? And we're riding to the thing, and they're doing CPR, and we're checking. And I remember looking up, my partner was in the jump seat doing CPR. We had at least 2 firefighters with us. I'm in the captain's seat. I think we had 3 firefighters. I mean, it was just one of those deals where it was just clicking, and everybody was doing something. Just come on in, shut the doors, let's go. And I remember having that moment of going, we lost. I lost. I can't save this kid. I don't know why. I have no idea. There's no cause for him to die. We're trying everything. We're trying Benadryl. We're trying sugar because it can't hurt. We're doing everything we can to this kid, and there's no response. He's 12, 13 years old, healthy as can be, no allergies, nothing. And I looked around the ambulance, and they literally happened to have that TV moment where they're all looking at me. And in my head, I'm like, we're done. We have nothing. And I went, I have to keep it together for them. I have to keep it together for them, because I can see in their eyes that they're all going, we lost this kid. And then they looked to me, and I came up with something to try again. Let's try again. Let's try this. And I kept them going. And it was a very TV moment, but it's very much a frozen moment in time. So I wasn't going crazy, but I was just having a reaction, honestly, of why, and that emotion that goes with that. And I did. I kept it together for them, and then we got to the hospital, and I kept it together for myself until the doctor apparently told his mother that he died. And it wasn't like next to us, as in a closed room, but she was so loud about it. That crying, that broken heart just hit me, and it's difficult. It is difficult in those situations where where you have to do that. But I think for the most part, I can only speak for myself. For the most part, as a medic and EMT, I can keep it together. I mean, we went to one house. Where end of life patient was there, and had stopped breathing, and there were at least 3 medics and me there. I mean, I think the other truck was a double medic truck, and so I wasn't going to get to do much. I mean, it was one of those deals where they were all doing it, and it got to a point where the patient ain't going to make it. I mean, we got a tube in there. It was systole on the monitor. We're talking to the family what to do, and that family members in the other room, and because it was not my safety zone. My comfort zone is the medicine, to just do the patient, to do the medicine, to leave all the other stuff, leave life out of it. Just let me do my thing. So I decided to push myself out of my comfort zone with nothing else to do. I decided to go talk to the family, and they're all crying. I don't understand. She was doing so much better. She was happier. She had more color. And I said, well, sometimes that happens in life, that right before a person passes away, they will kind of get that last little moment in life. And it's kind of, I think I made it up, but this is where I ended up going. It felt helpful, and I believed it. And I still can kind of see it at the time. It helps you. I never lie to anybody. I made it up going, I hadn't thought about it before and didn't have a lot to back it up, but I did say to him that, and I think maybe it's to help you remember the good times, because it sucks when they pass away, but having those few days before they pass away, if they were better, they were happier, they were talking to you about things, maybe that's life's way of helping us cope. And I don't know if it helped them or not, to be honest. I don't know if it's just empty words to them. It helped me cope, but it definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone to try to deal with that now. Now, like my mother-in-law passed away, and the whole thing is, I hate when people go, well, if there's anything I can do, no, just leave us alone or do something. And that's the other key. That's why I love being a paramedic, because I can either leave you alone or I can do something. If I know there's nothing I can do, I will leave you alone. If I know that in that house, I probably should have left them alone. I was young. I was trying a new thing. I don't know if it pissed them off, if it's empty words, if it helped them all. I have no idea. But typically, when you run a call, I'm focusing on the medicine, and when there's nothing more I can do, and we're not going to transport the patient. There's a specific one I was thinking of where she had been dead for hours, and they hadn't noticed, because she was by the fire, and they thought she was sleeping and whatever. And they're still warm. They're still warm. I'm like, no, she's by the fire. Feel the side that's on the. I mean, we handle it tactfully. It doesn't matter. But I didn't try to console the family. I didn't talk to the family. I just packed up my gear and left. Because that's how I want it, is either leave me alone to let me figure out how to deal with this, or do something. And that's something I can pass on to civilians who are watching this, or even to medics who don't know how to handle death. I hate going to funerals. And the first funeral my wife drugged me to, it was her great-grandmother, I think it was. I hated every second of it. And she needs that kind of thing. She likes funerals because it gives her closure. It helps the healing process. For her. For me, at the time, I didn't know why I didn't like funerals. I still am not entirely sure. I think I've got some ideas, but that's for other shows. But at the time, I was like, this is what I fight against. I don't want to go to a funeral. I need to know that there's a chance I can actually win the fight that I'm fighting. And that's how I viewed it at the time as an EMT, was we're fighting death. Well, the reality is, no, we're not. We're never fighting death. You can't win against death. If somebody's ready to die, if it's the circumstances have added, whatever, you're never going to win that. However, we can improve the quality of life. I heard a doctor say on a show the other day that something like 20% of people who code and you do CPR and you do all this other stuff, only 20% of people survive that, period. And they, of course, end up in the ICU and all this other stuff, if they even survive. It's such a low number. And in my own experience, even though I have some SAVE awards, I think only two of those. I think two of those walked out of the hospital later in life. One was a kid, and it was a trauma arrest. And trauma's a hell of a lot easier to fix than cardiac arrest. And the other was a man. I don't remember what happened, but we got to him in time, and I was part of the team that saved his life. And he walked out of the hospital a couple of weeks, to maybe a month later, because of our intervention. And it's that happens. But for the most part, all the times you do CPR, especially cardiac, especially older, especially diseased, damaged people. I mean, medically damaged, not trauma. You're not going to win. So if you think of it as a battle to win, you're going to end up with Quiddy Fingers early retirement, because you can't handle the stress of the reality there. But what we can do is improve quality of life, help those that we can help. Trauma, I love trauma all day long, because 9 times out of 10, I can either fix you or I can stabilize you quickly enough to get you to a place that can fix you. Love trauma because trauma is something we can really deal with easily. Medical is a lot harder, and a lot of times we're just prolonging life, and that's fine. I love the story of the guy with CHF, and he had a bad cycle of he had CHF because he had done crack cocaine for a long time, and he went through rehab a couple times, but he started filling up with fluid, start breathing, and his heart just wasn't working good. He could feel it, and he would call 911, and we'd go get him, and we'd do what we could for him and get him to the hospital, and they would counteract the effects of cocaine. It's not just the cocaine; it's the ultimate effect it had on his heart, not just the speeding up of it. And he'd be in the hospital for a while, and then get out, and maybe he'd be clean for a little bit, but then he'd do it again. It was a vicious cycle, and I get it. I mean, it's killing you. It's already actually killed you. It's put a death warrant on your head because even if you stop doing cocaine at that point and start living a healthy life, you've done the damage. Short of a universal miracle where you just see your life being different, nothing's going to change. So I had no judgment on him for going back to doing drugs. And to some point, I'm like, why not? What else have you got to do in life? I mean, your family's already shunned you because you're a drug addict who has done bad things to them and screwed the family over and damaged your life, but they still love you and you're killing yourself. So they're mad at you for killing yourself slowly. So I get all of it. But I remember the one time I really changed his life was I was trying to think, he's basically filling up with fluid. He feels like he can't breathe. And I could hear it. I could find the line on his chest with my stethoscope of there's air, there's no air. I could tell you how far up his lungs the fluid had gone. And so, and of course, it's panicking him. The body's trying to get more thing, and I needed to calm him down. So I said, okay, I'm going to try. Just this time from school popped in. So the image from school when I was in paramedic school was I said, okay, this is dangerous. I need you to really listen to me. If you're going to listen to me, we'll be fine. But if you fight it, we could get in some trouble. And because they were showing that somebody asked, can you use a bag valve mask on a conscious patient? And a lot of people are like, no. Well, she's like, absolutely you can. Probably won't work because people fight and they panic. But here, and he got a student to volunteer, and they held you got somebody else out hold the seal. Maybe the student helped. The student bagged himself, I think, actually. So the instructor held the seal. Said, okay, when you squeeze the bag, breathe in. When you let go, breathe out. And he's doing that, and then all of a sudden, the bag took over the work. So now the body was just like, okay, I'm getting air. And he says, okay, now you can stop breathing, and he's still doing the bag, and it's working. So yes, you can bag valve mask a conscious patient as long as they work with you. And of course, you get them breathe on their own. They breathe with it, this and that and the other. So here's this guy panicking and we have the high flow oxygen going on. And that moment from school popped into my head. I was like, hey, dude, because I knew his name, but I don't want to say his name here. Hey, dude, you trust me. I've taken care of you. I always treat you right. I'm never mad at you for any of this. I got to sneeze, by the way, for those of you watching. This might happen very soon. And I hate when I have to sneeze and it doesn't. There it is. Got it done. All right, moving on. I say, you got to trust me on this. And he's like shaking his head, yes, because he can't really speak. And I was like, okay. So I hook up oxygen to the bag valve mask, get it ready to go, pop off his mask, pop it on, and I say, breathe when I squeeze. 1, 2, breathe. And breathe out. 1, 2, breathe. Breathe out. And he calmed down. It took a minute of him, and I would never squeeze it too hard because the last thing you ever want to do is fight the lungs. You can pop a lung with positive pressure ventilation. You're putting pressure inside the lungs. You can do damage. So it's something to be very careful with, but fairly safe. And sure enough, it calmed him down, and it brought his heart rate down. And I kept doing it because that becomes basically CPAP or BiPAP. It's putting pressure, pushing the fluid down out of his lungs. Got putting more pressure with air than the fluid can push back with. So it's pushing out and into the body. So we calmed him down, and he was like, I'm feeling much better. And we walked into the ER. They're like, what are you doing? And I told him, like, holy crap, we've never thought of that. And then the doctor's like, get me a I can't remember if I ordered BiPAP or CPAP machine, basically pressure machine, get down to the ER. And we kept doing that till the machine came in. It took over. And he never had to be intubated. He never lost consciousness. He never had to be invaded in any way, basically invasive procedures other than IV and stuff. And he spent some time in the ICU because that's what you do with CHF, and especially when you have a bad an attack, if you will, of it. Ultimately, of course, he did do cocaine again and again and again, and ultimately did have the heart attack and die. But that was a moment of I'm thinking and I'm staying calm, and my brain goes into different directions, and it finds something, and it worked. So let me read the last of these comments here. Thank you for Nicole. Thank you for that. With the bless you on that. She was my grandpa. I was talking about the having a few days or whatever of being good before he passes away. She says my grandpa did that before he died, and that was basically the calm before the storm, so to speak. And you know what? Something I do here with this show. Is trying to get you to understand the human factor of it and to see it from other people's point of views. And I remember, Nicole, I won't go into all the details, but I remember you going through that and how your family, because it's a human thing to protect what you love, they were being super overprotective of him and just so worried he was going to pass away. But he was older, and he was miserable because it was just this overbearing thing, because that is our nature, to protect what we love, to keep it around, to want to have that around. And I remember counseling her and saying, hey, if you really want the great memories, give him his life back. You do what he wants to do. Go spend life with him. And she said she did. And she said it definitely helped. That he perked up, wanted to be around her more. And that when he did pass away, even though of course it does hurt, that's a huge loss, that she felt like having those last moments with him, the months or weeks or whatever it was with him, helped. And maybe it perked him up too. Now, earlier, Laura was talking about staying calm and the parents' reactions. She said, I also learned when my friend broke her leg that people around you will stay calm if you keep them busy or doing things. Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, that's the joke. And it took forever for people to even realize it's not a real thing, to boil water for when a baby's being born. Go boil me some water. Well, people made up it's to sterilize towels. No, it was for nothing. It was to keep you busy out of the way so that the doctor could just do what they had to do, or the nurse or whoever. So absolutely. Boiling water is never a thing. And it just isn't, but keeping you out of the way is a thing. My stepson didn't even start crying or tearing up until he had already unsaddled 3 horses and moved them out for us. As soon as his hands weren't busy, he started thinking. It was much scarier for him. But when her friend broke her leg, yeah. So, yeah, and that's something, too, that you can get overwhelmed with, is I've seen pictures from 9/11 where cops and firefighters and medics, they're in there doing the job, then it just hits that moment where there's just not enough busy. Or there's a lull, right? A break in the storm for a moment. So in those kind of situations, 9/11, where it's a mass casualty, you've got triage of green, yellow, red, black. Green is they can walk and talk. They're one of the last ones you deal with. There's a bus, go get on it. The bus will take you to the hospital. Yellow is critical but stable. Red is critical but unstable, if I remember correctly. And black is dead. But black can be it's been a while since I've done my mass casualty colors. But I remember black is you can be alive, but you have more than 2 critical things to fix. So I want to say yellow, we can stabilize you pretty quickly and save your life. Red, you've got one critical thing, we got to focus on you, but we can save your life right now, as opposed to black being 2, maybe 3 critical things. I forget the exact thing that happens. But there's a story of a survivor from 9/11 who was black tagged because there was a lull in the yellow and reds they had been dealt with, and ambulances were just stacked up ready to go. They went to the black tagged people, and she was tagged to die because she had multiple critical injuries, whatever. I don't remember exactly why she was tagged to die, but she was black tagged. But she survived because there was this lull, because there was this window of opening, and they found her and said, all right, we're going to take you next. And they next ambulance, out. But I also remember the pictures of the police officers just losing it, just on their cars crying, because there comes that point where you can only stay so busy. Life will catch up to you, and you have to be prepared for that. You have to be ready, and you have to take your punches. The one thing that irritates me so much with my wife is life will happen to her. Okay, her mother died. It's a big thing to process, right? It's her mother. It's the person that she's been closest to all her life. And she gets busy in life because life goes on. She gets busy helping with our family, doing our normal life, helping with her brother's house, doing these things. She sometimes actually forgets her mom's dead. And then, of course, it hits harder because of that. And when she remembers her mom's, and she get, what irritates me is not that. What irritates me is she goes, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. I forget. I'm like, no, stop that. You make me so mad when you get mad at yourself saying so stupid. It's not stupid. You handle it the way you handle it. There is no book for how this works for you. There is no book. I don't care who's had their mother pass away. Everybody's relationship is different. Everybody's a different human being. There's nobody who can tell you how to handle this. And as medics and EMTs, we think we have to be strong all the time, and that is the worst lie you can ever believe. There has to be a time for you to be human, for you to need help. And it will come whether you like it or not. You can only stay so busy. You can only stay so strong. You can only have so much rationale about why things happen before something breaks that apart. And that's why people get burned out. That's why I got burned out. And honestly, I'm better now. And I'm happy to be back into the fold again, as much as I am currently. But there's people, when I say early retirement, I do mean people who kill themselves. And there's people who take early retirement too often because they never dealt with the stress. They never dealt with the tears and the heartbreak and the sorrow and the helplessness that you will ultimately feel as a human being, because somehow, some way, they believe they had to be strong always, and that was stupid or wrong to be anything else. And if you can't cry, if you can't be weak and be helpless, you will lose. However you phrase that, you will ultimately kill yourself. You'll burn out. You'll lose everything in life that you love. That's why so many people in public safety, multiple marriages, or just exes. They're not even married anymore. They're not even really seeing anybody. They end up alone because we are vulnerable as human beings. We are helpless sometimes. We are broken sometimes. And the kid, that was one that got to me, the one where I looked at everybody in the eyes, all the firefighters, and thought I had to keep it together for them. That was the one that there was no rationale. There was no way to deal with it. And I did have to go talk to somebody and get some help with that. And Laura, you're right. You can only escape so long. You have to keep spouting steam so you don't become the water heater on Mythbusters that explodes. Yeah. Yeah, and that's where talking comes into play. That's where telling the stories sometimes comes into play. But it's really your belief. It is your belief. Though I have found the people who are the harshest about feelings. So, even here where I'm talking about being broken and being helpless, they would see this, and you might even know somebody pops in your head when I tell you the story. Or if you're sitting at a table telling the story, they're the ones that call you a sissy or worse, or real men don't do that, or any harshness to weakness, they just get angry. Those are the ones who are struggling the most. They're the ones who have those strong feelings in there, and they don't know how to deal with it, and they think pushing it down is the way to do it, or believing they're strong is the way to do it. Because I can tell you, losing it on a scene is a catastrophe. If I were to lose it in the middle of that call, my career would have been over. And honestly, not keeping it together would have been losing it for me. If I just for a second admitted this kid's dead and there's nothing we can do, that'd have been over. I mean, that would have been over for me, and who knows how it would have affected everybody else in that truck. Who knows? You know, there are times to keep it together, to do your job, to stay busy, but there's definitely times to heal or to take the punches or to do whatever it is you need to do. And again, yeah, I come back to this a lot on EMS Underground. Love your family. Talk to your family. Your loved one, your spouse, your whoever, your partner, whatever. Talk to them about the realities of it. Not just, yeah, we ran this call and this and that and the other. I mean, it would have helped my marriage in the early days greatly if I had been able to be honest about my calls. I had a female partner, and she was about my age, and she was young and cute and not my type, but to the open world, young and cute, and my wife got jealous because what my wife got from me was, Jennifer, this is great. Jennifer's great, that. Oh, we did. Oh, did it. And that's all she got, but she lived with me. So she knew there were downsides. She knew that we were having trouble. You know, we'd have our own ups and downs. That's human nature, right? Your own ups and downs. And she just got jealous. And what I did instead of going, oh, I really need to show my whole world to her, I just went in my head, I just got to quit telling stories about Jennifer. Never once thought about cheating on my wife with Jennifer. Never once cared. Again, not my type. And I'm the guy who home was more important than anything else, even then. But what I should have done, what would have helped out a lot, was to say, yeah, okay, Jennifer and I did this call, and this call affected me this way, and she said something that pissed me off, and just be the reality that is there, right? Because nobody's great all the time. No calls go great. But in the fight, I remember yelling at her, I just want to leave the bad stuff at work. That's why you only hear about the good stuff. But she lives in the bad and the good. My wife does, right? She lives in the bad and the good. So please share your life with somebody. Talk about it. Let people know. I mean, that's one of the things we're here for. That's one of the things I'm here for, is by all means, even if it's just asking a question, get on here, post your question about maybe something you're dealing with. You don't even have to, or our friend is dealing with somebody, and I can answer your question. If you want to email us, the email is right there, emsu@gaiems.org. You can email us, and I will email you back privately if that's what you want. If you want to find somebody just to talk to, I've been talking to Tom for a while now, but we've been busy and it doesn't seem to be a huge interest in the community, but maybe we should just do one anyway. Basically doing AA for paramedics, Paramedics Anonymous, except you're not anonymous. Everybody's going to know you. I mean, that's the problem. But what said in the group stays in the group. It's not like you go out and rat people out and this and that. And I don't mean for alcoholic. I know AA is Alcoholics Anonymous. And there are those meetings for people. I mean, for paramedics and EMTs to be able to come in and say, this is what happened, this is how I feel about it, and have seasoned veterans say, okay, this is what you can learn from it. Here's how you deal with that. Oh, yeah, I went through that similarly. Here's something I went with. And it's not something you need to do all the time, but it is something that we need on a regular basis, I think. So if you're interested in that, call this number, 678-561-2368, and say, hey, I heard Charles talking about on EMS Underground this Paramedics Anonymous meeting, this counseling group. We don't have a name for it. It's like, I just want to say I'm interested. And we get 3 or 4 people interested, we'll schedule a night and do it. Maybe I'll talk to Tom. Maybe we'll schedule one anyway. And if nothing else, me and Tom just sit around drinking some coffee and talking if nobody shows up. But we need that stress relief situations with those who can actually understand what you're going through. Yeah, Laura, that's exactly what we're talking about. Stress relief situation. It's never counseling. It's instead of pinning it up and feeling you're alone in the world, it's finding out you're not alone and how to deal with it. So all that's there. Love the people that you're with. Take care of everybody around you. And you know what? These discussions on Facebook, these live discussions, are shaped by you. If you didn't like what I talked about today, I saw a lot of people watch and then cut off. That's fine, whatever. But if you didn't like what I thought, it's your questions. You ask a question, I will go down that road with you. It's a discussion that way until you give me something to discuss with you. I can only discuss what I have. So please get those questions in. EMSU at GAIEMS.org. Come out live, Facebook.com/Georgia Institute of EMS. Subscribe to the channel. It'll let you know when we're live without having to remember. But it's 2:30 every Thursday afternoon. And if something changes, of course, we'll let you know that as well on the group. So I love being here talking to everybody. Thank you for coming out. Check out all the classes that we have coming up. We've got a new school year happening soon for EMTs, EMT-A or advanced EMT and EMT-Bs, all that jazz. So definitely check us out. Be part of your community and just plug in somewhere. Plugging in helps you recharge your batteries, and it helps you have a purpose in life.